If the assassins ever existed for real, the world we would all be living in would have been a vastly different place. People with skills and efficiency, the likes of which we see being displayed by these assassins in the Assassin's Creed games, that would have been something that would have most certainly changed the course of history. Imagine if there were people who could move like shadows, are precise, and have honed their senses to a point where they can even control their sixth sense, and also have the ability, the courage, and the virtue to deliver terrible justice. A beautiful little world would have been a much better place for sure. And even though the world of the assassins is a fictional one, the developers have created a world that's undeniably intriguing. And that same intrigue got me asking one question: who amongst the assassins had the most influence in steering the course of the Assassin's Creed history? And when we consider all the events that occurred in these 12 main titles, we also have to take into account the butterfly effect of the actions of these assassins, because some caused a massive ripple through time and some were just inconsequential. Now, once again, I'll have to unfortunately disappoint the fans of Cassandra and Ivor, but I will absolutely have to exclude them off of this list. Now, before anybody tells me how Cassandra/Alexios established the precursor to the hidden ones in the DLC, the legacy of the first Blade, I'd like to repeat myself and tell you all how everything about Cassandra and Ivor is way out there. Because if you ever think about it logically, they are more mythology than history, so including them is like comparing apples to oranges. Now, without further ado, let's get into the list with the last spot, which is occupied by Arno Dorian. Well, now before any of the Arno and Unity fans start bashing me, just hear me out. In the grand scheme of things, Arno's existence or actions really didn't make that much of a difference in the end, now did they? He wasn't a part of the French Revolution, he never became the Grand Master or anything, and even him killing Francois Thomas Germain didn't help the assassins of today in any way. It was all just about pleasing Elise. And Arno's personal quest for revenge for the murder of his adopted father, Francois de la Serre, it didn't upset the established order, had just a handful of interactions with key historical figures, and even those weren't like anything we saw in AC3 or Assassin's Creed 2. So the bottom line is, he really didn't make that much of a difference in the end. I'm sorry, but that's just the naked truth. Next one we see is Edward Kenway. Now, I had a real debate with myself whether to put Arno in the last spot or Edward, but when I compared their actions head to head, there was one distinction that Edward had. He was the father of Haytham Kenway and the grandfather of Connor, and that is no small thing to consider, because the aforementioned duo are undoubtedly two of the most powerful and important pieces in Assassin's Creed history. We'll talk about Connor later in the list. Haytham, my goodness, the man was a cerebral terminator, and he also led the Templars for an extremely substantial 2+ decades, which was really the peak of the Templar years. But enough about Haytham, let's talk about Edward. The man was only focused on increasing his quote-unquote bank balance for the longest time, and even though he eliminated a few key Templar pieces earlier in his years, his motives were still selfish and really didn't cause that much of a ripple through the Assassin's Creed history. And Haytham only became a Templar after Edward was killed, which means Edward just slightly edges out Arno thanks to his son and grandson. Next up, we see the Frye sitting on the 6th spot. Before we talk about them, I've seen a sentiment in the comment section of my videos way too often, and the sentiment is that I'm an Assassin's Creed Syndicate hater. It could not be farther from the truth. I just give my genuine opinion about what I feel about all Assassin's Creed games, and Syndicate, although in my honest opinion inferior to many others in the series, is one bloody enjoyable game. Now about the Fryes. If I see that one more time, Murderous Twins might be pretty low on the list, but they had a substantial amount more impact on the Assassin's Creed history than the last two. Think about it, the Victorian era London, probably the most powerful city of that time, and the Fryes went head to head with the multi-millionaire near psychopath, fingers in all pies Templar Grandmaster Crawford Starrick. Now this man had breached the government at every single level. The kind of power he held over the city, he could only be compared to a mayor. And during the loggerheads, the Fryes, although not systematically, but eliminated key pieces of the chessboard and freed London from the death grip of the Templars. Now that's what I'm talking about when I said changing the course of history. Go Fryes. God damn it! Moving on, we see Shay Patrick on the 5th spot. This man literally set into motion all the events we see taking place in Unity. Although in my opinion, even if Charles Dorian wasn't killed by Shay, Unity would still have happened, but the difference in happenings would have been night and day. Sorry about that, folks. This man, with the aid of Haytham Kenway, literally crippled the entire assassin order in the US of A during the time he was operating. He eliminated person after person, and the man was so bloody focused he didn't even spare his best friend. Everyone fell to the blade of Shay, and the amount of influence he had in shaping the Assassin's Creed history, well, it's just something that's terrorizing. If I was an assassin and I saw Shay Patrick coming my way, I would just run. The the next one we see on the list is Bayek of Siwa. The man along with Aya founded the Hidden Ones, the precursor to the Assassin Brotherhood. Basically the dude that started it all. And after that, the fact that he pretty much destroyed the Order of Ancients, eliminated some incredibly important historical figures, and laid the foundation for all the assassins that came after. His achievements are truly astonishing. Well, many people might have expected to see Bayek on a better spot. Well, sorry to disappoint you, but I have my reasons. He's fourth and not any higher. It's simply because the others we see on the list have far greater accomplishments and have had an impact that's just bigger. Plus, there's the fact that the credit for almost all of his accomplishments have to be equally divided between Bayek and Aya. So the man really has only 50% of his bar full, but the respect is most definitely 100%. Now it's time for number 3, Connor Kenway. Remember when we spoke about how Shay decimated the Assassin Order? The only piece left was a crippled old man nearing the end of his days. Enter Connor Kenway. The man stormed into the Assassin Order and built it back from ground up. And think about this, at the time, Haytham Kenway was leading the Templars, and they had penetrated almost all forms of established order, which means this young boy from Kanian Kahaka was up against a perfectly well-oiled machine in its peak, which was the Templar Order. But it doesn't end there. The monster of an assassin also pulled the American Revolution back into the favor of the Patriots. He was leading the pack at the Boston Tea Party, had interactions with key historical figures like George Washington, Paul Revere, Israel Putnam, and who can forget the Battle of Bunker Hill? He was just an all-out beast, an unstoppable force, and the man more than deserves to be on the number 3 spot. And now in the second place we see Ezio Auditore. Let me ask you a question. What has the man not done in his time? Intimidating and acting Pope into hiding? Done. Kill a powerful dude like Cesare Borgia? Too damn easy. Walk into Constantinople and completely destroy the established order? Well, it's a cakewalk. This man was just a powerhouse. Probably the most powerful man in Italia in his prime, and definitely the most feared. Plus, add to that the fact that he helped so many historical juggernauts like Leonardo da Vinci, Niccolo Machiavelli, and Shehzad Suleiman survive. The man single-handedly shifted the balance of power between empires multiple times, and his accomplishments don't end there, because he also was a major player in the happenings of the present time in Assassin's Creed timeline. Without him, Desmond would have never found the apple of the Grand Temple that helped Earth and its people survive. Well, I'd just like to say one thing: thank you, Ezio. And now for the first spot, aka the most influential man in Assassin's Creed history, Altair Ibn La Ahad. Yes, he was the man that saved the Order from extinction. Yes, he was the one that had the most understanding of the Apple of Eden. And yes, his whole life was about the Creed. Let's look at all that the beloved and much feared Altair has done. The man with the apples helped make discoveries that helped the Assassin Order flourish for centuries. He was the one who made sure the assassins formed bases all across the world, created the almost holy codex pages, and at one point even stopped Genghis Khan's march. Did I say more? He was the key to bridging the gap between two faraway eras. And without this one man, the Assassin Order would have never been, which makes him the assassin that steered the course of history and had the most substantial butterfly effect and influence on the Assassin's Creed timeline. And with that, we reach the end of the video, guys. Tell me down in the comment section below what you thought of this list, and also tell me who you think is the most influential assassin in the Assassin's Creed franchise. And if you like the video, make sure you pierce your hidden blade through that like button, and do not forget to hit subscribe. It only takes a second, it's easy, it's free to support a brother from the Creed. Well, that's it for today, guys. Stay safe, stay strong, and stay tuned. It's your boy VZX signing out.